डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकर ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी.
Welcome to the online video session of MA Journalism and Mass Communication. Today we are going to discuss the MA Journalism and Mass Communication related paper. That paper is about basic English, which is very important, and I think it is the fundamental thing for writing in English, because journalism and mass communication itself talks about writing and the basics of writing. That is why we are going to study the most important session of basic English, and we are starting right now unit number 1. Look, you can see over here basic English 1. So naturally there is basic English 2 also, but first of all we have to deal with basic English 1, unit number 1, and it is about language skills for journalism. Now our focus is on language skills, but basically the language skills which are related only with journalism, that is our focus or study right now. I am in front of you Dr. Ushma A. Bhatt from the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences, and we are going to study the language skills for journalism right now. As you know, there are 4 skills: writing skill, speaking skill, reading skill, listening skill. But what is essential, what is the most important thing to write effectively, to write with the perfection, to write impressively? For the effective writing, which particular skill is important, or what should be done for the development of writing skill? That is the most important part of language skills for journalism, and we have to see the language in an elaborate way also, in overall also. We have to discuss what is the language, what is the origin of the language, how the language works, what kind of writing practices could be done through the help of language, or whether the help of language is important in the field of vocabulary, grammar, speaking, writing, or writing with a particular kind of pattern, technique. All these things are very important, and this particular topic of language skills for journalism, it is crucial, it is most important, it is fundamental, it is essential when you are going to deal with the writing skill. So let's start the topic right now. Look, language and mass communication, you know, and importance of language in the profession of communication. As you know, communication deals with 4 main skills: speaking, listening, of course, reading and writing, because reading and writing are also the part of emails and writing, newspaper writing, the writings of vernacular kinds in the profession of communication. So let's discuss the importance of language, the role of language, the significance of the language, whether the language is most important or the skills are important. At one time you may think that which one is important, language is important or skills are important, but by default you have to accept that language and skills are the 2 sides of a coin, one side and another side of the coin. The coin itself becomes very much important. That is what I want to tell you over here. The learning objectives: understanding how language works, its origin and evolution. So fundamentally you have to see that how the language works, means the speaking should be discussed over here, or writing part, or when you are discussing the writing part, which part is important, the grammar writing, the writing with the vocabulary, the words are important, the sentences are important, or overall whole compositional paragraph you have to study, which kind of technique you must implement to learn the language, because language works and language has its own origin and evolution. Language has an origin, in the sense language hails from, comes from, etymologically it comes from the primitive era. You know that how the language has come previously, when there are homo sapiens sapiens, when there are primitive people in the ancient period of time. You know, language isn't found, but people were trying to draw the pictures on the stone, and there was a stone age, and afterwards there occurs the language, and there were symbols previously, afterwards the pictures and the symbols and pictures and sounds. All these things play a competent role to create the structure of the language, and afterwards in the ancient era there occurs the language, and then in the modern era the language changes and language has many new infrastructures, and afterwards you have seen over here right now in the contemporary era that language originates from different kinds of uh, developments, different kinds of perspectives, different kinds of practices. And not only this, the language originates, but language develops also. There isn't any stop, or there isn't any last destination, there isn't any resistance in the development of language, because language is ever growing, always evolving, always developing, and always continuously going like a flood. It may happen the language takes the change, or it may happen that language lapses some of the words, language forgets some of the words, but it changes, it grows, and it develops. It is an infinite thing, it is an inevitable thing. And the importance of writing and speaking properly. Look, here you are going to focus on the importance of writing. Why it is written that speaking properly? Because basically what you speak, that you hear, that you learn, what you listen, that you speak, and what you listen and what you speak and what you learn, that will be in your papers, because you are the learners in front of me. And that's why I'm telling that importance of speaking also becomes very much important when you are trying and practicing the writing skill. Basic introduction of how to write well and fundamentals of grammar. Grammar is an essential thing to learn the language, because language has a structure and language deals in the particular kind of pattern. There are sentences and all the sentences are gathered and there becomes the paragraph, but all the sentences are gathered because of the words, and all the words are gathered with the help of grammar, and all these words are gathered with the help of grammar with a particular meaning in it, and all this thing is related with the fundamentals of grammar and how to write well. That's why we are supposed to study the topic of basic introduction of how to write well and fundamentals of grammar, as well as identifying common errors in Indian English, and we are going to learn to avoid the common errors also in English. So all these things we are supposed to see right now in this particular topic. The importance of language in the profession of communication. The language is the most essential and the most important factor in the profession of communication. Of course, communication happens through colors, you know, it happens through the pictures, it happens through the signs and smiles and eye contact even. But when you are going to do the evidential, authentic, fundamental, strong, concrete communication, you need to have the words, you need to write it on paper and deliver it to someone for the sake of authenticity. There are many types of writers who had talked about the fundamentals of profession of communication. Famous American journalist and writer Ernest Hemingway, he had written the final chapter of classic where he deliberately emphasized about the utilization of words. You might have come across this name, Ernest Hemingway, the great book Old Man and the Sea, very famous book. It is written by him. And Ernest Hemingway means to say that. He says that once he said in one of his write-up, if you have come across that write-up, you will come to understand that he believed strongly that emphasizing of the word, the utilization of the words play a very significant role in writing. The words should be selected, chosen and written in such a way so that the reader will be in a condition to get the genuine message, get the particular message, get the basic message which is delivered by the writer. That is what Ernest Hemingway means to say. He says that the writing of the English is different when it is utilization in the field of writing, and the same English language is different when it is the colloquial, when the same English is utilized by the people, by the colloquial people, by the people who are speaking English. So speaking English is different from written English. That's what Ernest Hemingway says. Words are the heart of human existence. Look, this is the most beautiful sentence of the understanding of language, because language touches the heart. Human beings connect with each other with the words, because words extract the meaning from within us to enable us to communicate with other. So if one person wants to communicate with another person, if there are two communicators and they wish to touch each other's heart, the language is the most important factor. You might have heard there is a small 2 lines poetry I have remembered about the words. I wish to share it over here. Hearts like doors will open with his 2 very little keys. And don't forget that 2 of these are thank you and please. So you know that words are the heart of human existence. It means that hearts like doors, the doors of the heart are closed, and hearts like doors will open. The doors of the heart will open with ease. Easily heart's doors, heart is like a 2 doors, 2 closed doors, and it will be openly closed. It will be easily opened through 2 little words. Hearts like doors will open with ease. Easily it will be opened. Will open with his 2 very little keys. There are 2 keys to open these doors, and these 2 keys are 2 very little keys, and don't forget these 2 of keys are thank you and please. These are the 2 words, thank you and please, magic words who you can contact with, who you can communicate with. If there is a better communication, then even if you utilize the word please, then even if you utilize the word thank you, the communication will be in a positive kind. So human beings connect with each other with the words. Look, there is a saying that if you want to attach with each other, the words are very much important, and it enables us to communicate with each other. The words gives the power. The words give the power to connect with each other, to communicate with each other. We have words at our disposal to express. Basically, each living being communicate with sounds in nature. So basically here there is an example of the whole nature. The hummingbird, the bees, the birds, the insects, small insects, the big animals, the small animals, even the wild animals, the domestic animals, any species, any human being, any living being is creating the sound, and that sound is the most important factor to connect with nature. That is what is said here. Look, the human species is the only being who has found language. So when we talk about hummingbirds or birds, animals, wild animals, domestic animals, insects, the leaves, the plants, the mountains, rivers, the birds, the animals, but basically only difference is that only human being, the human species, one who has found the computer, one who has found the mobile phone, one who has found the science and gadgets, all this research is going on moon, Mars, all these researches and all these things are the main examples of human species and their findings. And again here we are on the top because we are the only human beings who have found language other than other living species like insects or animals or birds. An organized way of communicating through words happens only through grammar. Look, the first fundamental condition, there is a condition to communicate, and when you want to communicate effectively, the words are important, and finding of the words are as important as they are settled in a proper way. There should be a proper settlement, there should be a proper arrangement of the grammar. Grammar creates a language, and thus human speech differs from other living species. Of course, dogs are having their own language, birds are having their own language, birds have their own language, the trees, plants, and the nature has its own sounds. The Himalayan mountain range, if you go over there deeply, if you sit over there and you listen to the mountains are having a sound. There will be a roaring, humming sound that you find over there. Maybe it is a spiritual sound, but it is the sound of the nature. You can say basically, as Wordsworth was telling in English literature, you are not the student of English literature, but still you know that there is a very big poet, William Wordsworth, who says that nature also has sounds. So there are everywhere, the sound is there. There is a sound in the initial stage of the development of the world, but I have to say over here that all the living species are having sound only, and human species is the only blessed species that has sound with particular language also. We have language also. We don't have only sounds. Of course, we have sounds, but we have the language, we have the grammar, we have the content, we have the proper form of construction of the language. All these things create the language, and language is an important factor to do the communication, and communication is very much important in the field of writing. Human speech is developed from the cortical speech center. Look, it organizes sound on a rational basis. Here it means that sounds are connected with rationalism, with reason. As for example, she is, then there will be the word a teacher. If there is a word a teacher, then there is a word is and another word she. All the three words are written in front of you in a jumbled form. Then you will be in a condition to create the sentence, she is a teacher. The doctor went patient ill to home. All these words are jumbled. They are in front of you in a clumsy way. They are not properly organized, and you will create the sentence, the doctor went to the patient's home as the patient was ill. So this creation of sentences requires grammar, because grammar deals with certain patterns. Grammar deals with structuralism, structure of the approach, structure of the sentences, structure of the word, structure of the paragraph, structure of the language. That is important over here to learn. It responds, look, it in the sense language, of course. Language responds systematically, instinctively, and incoherently even. It happens that there are some sentences which we utilize in the earlier speech, and some sentences which you utilize in the later speech. There isn't a watertight compartment or rule that each word or each sentence should be spoken in a proper coherence or in a proper order. So incoherently language works. Language is the most flexible thing. You must remember that thing in your mind. You must fix it in your mind that language is the most flexible thing, ever growing thing, ever changing thing, and the most uh, interesting even. Brain responds with coherence and is unique to the human mind. Look, brain and human mind deals with language, and they try to synchronize the language as per the situation, as per the words, as per the sound, as per the communication. If you go in the classroom of the younger kids, KG and UG undergrad, first year KG, UG, LKG, then you will come to understand that if you try to listen to them, they are listening to the animal sounds. Try to make the sound of a lion and they will say lion. Try to make the sound of the crow and they'll say crow. So they genuinely find out which particular animal is making which kind of sound, which particular bird is making which kind of sound. So brain responds with coherent is unique to human mind, and the same thing happens with the sound also. The human being as well as the birds and animals and even the small young kids even are able to find out the sound, whose sound is which particular persons or which particular animals. The origin of language seems to be symbolism, when in absence of words people used to communicate with gestures, sounds, eye contact and touch. Now look, it is a very difficult task for the person who is writing, because writing skill, writing of the journalism, writing for the mass, writing for the whole class, writing for the large public becomes very much challenging, because you are writing to those readers who are not able to see your face gestures, who are not able to see your sounds, your eye contact, your smile, your touch. So it is a very difficult task, a challenging task, I say, because the readers are not in front of you and you are merely writing and thinking that these kinds of audience will be the readers, these kind of speakers or these kind of people will be the readers. You are going on merely assumptions. You assume, you presume, and probably you start writing. So probability is a very crucial stage in the writing of the journalism and mass communication, because the audience is not in front of you, the readers are not in front of you, and still you are writing for the same people. That is why there are certain techniques which are given in unit 1, then unit 5, 8, 9, 13. So we are going to deal with almost all the techniques of writing and journalism and mass communication with a view to basic English. Afterwards, there is a sign language, pictures, paintings and stone carvings. Look, it is the sentence about the development of the language, how the language initially begins, how the language initiates in the ancient era. That is what is said over here. Humans create stories and they start documenting the lives. The process of developing of human mind and the area of intense research and intrigue which is necessary for the evolution of language. Look, what is necessary for the evolution of the language? The documentation of the lives, the process of developing a human mind, and the research and intrigue. All these things, if they are gathered, then you will understand that okay, this particular language develops this way because of certain kinds of reasons. As for example, if you know, the Britishers, they utilize bread and butter in their language because they eat bread and butter. And in Indian Bharatiya language, either in Hindi or in Gujarati or any other Bharatiya language, you will see that there is the utilization of butter and roti and chapati. But bread, it is the outcome from the British people. It is the European food previously, and then it came to India. So naturally the bread is not found in the Gujarati language even. You can use chapati, double roti in that way, but this is not the actual word of the word breed. So the main thing is over here that the evolution of the language occurs. There occurs the modern language. It occurs through the people who are living. Of course, people are speaking the language, and that's why the language develops or evolves because of the humankind, because of the people. No man is an island. Look, there is an innate urge of human species to connect with one and another, and thus it connects and expresses with others. This is the fundamental craving of human people, that human being is always attached with one or another human being. We are never a Robinson Crusoe, or we are never a person who is on the unknown island. So we always wish to connect with other human beings. We are not like that primitive Robinson Crusoe or Tarzan who were on the unknown island and living alone. They do not have to speak anything, but they listen the sounds of the animals around them, and thus they try to understand the sounds, and they understand the language also. And why this happens? Because they were on that unknown island in a very young age. That's why. If they have learned the language and then they have gone to the unknown island, it would not happen. So basically, human mind and humankind is always in a mood to attach with someone else. And what is that weapon to connect with each other? That's of course the language. The dealing of the mass media is communicating with large audience. Look, this is the most essential part of the mass media, that they are connecting with large audience. But how? Through writing or through giving the messages. The writer is writing for an audience varying level of understanding the interest in the subject. Of course, the age is different, the genders are different, the languages would be different, the cultural impressions would be different in the audience of the mass media. First of all, we should understand who is going to read your article. If you have written that article in your famous newspaper, and you are the person of mass media and journalism, and you have written the famous, important, popular article about the Chandrayaan and Bharat, and that article is published in the Times of India or in Indian Express, and who are the readers in front of you? Are they the students? Are they the scientists? Or whether they are the housewives? Or who they are? That's why before writing anything, before writing an article, one should study that who the audience is. That is what is said over here. The ground rule of writing for mass media is KISS. KISS. Keep it short and slip. Keep it short and swift. That is what is said over here. Keep it short and swift. Writing is the art of second thought. Look, it's not the first thought. If you have heard the name of a very famous poet, I am telling you, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, who says that writing comes, the standard kind of writing, the supreme kind of writing would come only after the primary thoughts and the secondary thought, after the primary image and the secondary image, and the recapitulation of the secondary image, and afterwards the data comes out, and that would be of the standard kind. And this is the same thing I am telling you over here. It is the rule of the mass media and journalism that writing is the art of second thought. You think and you write. This does not happen. You think, stop, again think, again stop, then read, and then you are going to write something. Stop and think and stop and think. This kind of process you are going to implement over here. The written word has best impact when the sentences are well crafted. Look, word plays the role, and word is the phenomenon component to have the discussions, to make the world wars even, and to make the strong collaborations and unity even. Word is an important component in the life of a human being. Here the same thing is told over here. Written word has best impact when the sentences are well crafted. If the sentence, the whole sentence is well written, well crafted, the word is utilized with the proper meaning and with the proper utilization of the meaning to the person who is going to read that message, then and then only you can say that it is well crafted writing. One can write, rewrite, and again write, and multiple times this happens. The writing is the hardest task because it is the presentation without the facial expression. Think about it. When your article goes about Chandrayaan and Bharat in Times of India or in Indian Express, and the readers are reading your article, do they know that who has written, whether it is written by Ram, Paresh, Mahesh, or Krupa, Sheena, Meena, Tina? Who has written the article? Nobody thinks about the writer. The reader is interested in the data, what he is reading, what she is reading. They are interested in the topic. They read the title, Chandrayaan and Bharat. Okay, the title is very interesting. Let's go and read the article. So the writing is the hardest task because it is the presentation without the facial expression. You can see me and look at me and can see that, okay, she's smiling, she's happy, she's looking into our eyes. Here you can see body language, gestures, tone, smile, eye contact, everything when you are talking with someone. Speaking has that benefit, but the writing skill hasn't any other benefit. And the writing skill is more psychological, it is more individual, it is more serious, sincere. Of course, you can write comic magazines even, but it will be enjoyed individually, or if it is enjoyed in the group also, then too you won't see the readers, you won't see the person who has writer who has been writing the articles. So all these medium of communication, smile, eye contact, tone, gesture, language, body language, they are connected with speaking skill and listening skill. But in writing skill, all these things are lacking, and the reader should be kept in mind. One has to think when she is reading. The reader must remember when they are reading, as I told you, the example of Chandrayaan and Bharat. They must remember and keep it in mind that while you are writing for them, while they are reading merely a piece of paper only. The writer has to think about the readers. The readers do not have to worry. The writers should be very much competent enough to think. Look, here I have found this quotation by Francis Bacon, who says that reading maketh a fool man. A very full and competent 100% man is doing reading, and when he is attending the conference, he is the ready man, and when he has been writing an article in the newspaper for the audience, for the readers, for the people, for the mass, for the whole class, for large audience, then he is the person who could be known as an exact man. Writing an exact man. When you do writing, you become the perfectionist. For the purpose of the readers, one has to understand the mind of the readers. If you are writing for the readers, it is your condition as well as it is your basic requirement. You must do this. It's your task. You should understand the mind of the readers, what they actually needed, what they are interested in, and you should see that what are their characteristics when they are reading. If you are writing an article for the Sunday Times, think about the Sunday positions of the readers. The readers who are reading on Sunday, they are in a relaxing mood. They are happy that they have got the Sunday as a holiday, the blessed day. Then they would love to read and write what is a part of an entertainment. So this kind of thing could be done in writing. Writers should be very much cautious enough to find the audience, the mind of the audience, the psyche of the audience, and the genuine and general requirement of the audience. It should be kept in mind while writing and while adopting the writing skill even. The reader is a voluntary consumer of your writing as against a listener or the viewer who might have done it voluntarily. The same thing as I told you. He is a consumer, he is the reader. Basically, we can say that our writing of an article is a product and we launch our product, and the readers are the customers. They are the consumers. They are our clients. If you are a writer and you have written the article Chandrayaan and Bharat in Indian Express or in Sunday Times, and the readers are proficiently, they are very much happy, and plenty of messages you are getting about your article, and you have several phone calls and you have hundreds of comments, then it shows that your article has become an interesting thing for those readers, and you must adopt the same kind of style in your writing as well. The reader is a voluntary consumer for the product of writing, as I told you. Then there are some points, the viewer who might have done it involuntarily. If you are the viewer in the case of presentation, if it is not a written article and if it is in front of you, it will be a different thing, and you have the full attention of the reader, and the listener or viewer is distracted by other sounds. Yes, it is very much beneficial for the writer. Of course, we have the limitations of not watching the eye contact, not having the body language. You are the writer of an article, writer of a newspaper or the magazine, and you can't see the reader's body language, reader's happiness, reader's eye contact, reader's sound. But at the same time, you have got the highest kind of benefit, that is about the mind of the reader. The mind of the reader is completely involved in the article when she is reading, and you are in a condition to control his or her brain even, and you can control his ideology, her ideology, and you can control his mindset, his thinking pattern, his views. So this is the benefit of the writer in compared to the speaker. Of course, speakers are having maximum benefits that we had already discussed in the beginning part, but writer is having the core part of the benefit, and that is about the brain of the reader. The reader is completely engulfed in the reading when she is reading the article. The reader is a literate person, and her expectations from writing and the process, it is very much different. That's what I told you. The brain is with the writers because they knew their articles reading would be done with very much quality kind of work. So these are the things you should understand in the unit number 1 about the language and skills and basic English, where we had discussed the first part of the language as a skill, the origin of the language and the skills of the language for the purpose of writing in mass media. And the session ends over here. It is about the mass media and journalism, and we discussed the basic English part 1 of MS semester 1, where we have discussed the initiation of unit 1. It is about the language, the origin of the language, and the writing skill. Good luck to you. Best of luck. God bless you.
स्वाध्यायः परमः